What's up, fellow YouTube artists and aspiring artists? It's Mike here with Aerosotle Custom Spray Paint Art. This channel is all about spray paint art tutorials, trying to figure out different techniques and tricks and passing those on to you. So if you're interested in this kind of art, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We just passed 26,000 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy. Definitely means it's time for another tutorial video. Today's video is going to be kind of a continuation on this piece. So in the past, this is a very popular video on the channel. If you want to learn how to get this far with your spray paint art, start there. There's going to be a link in the description, probably on the screen somewhere right now. This is going to be the basis for today. All we're going to do is continue the scene a little bit, add a few more little details and different techniques. So once again, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can stay tuned when new spray paint art tutorials go live, and let's get right into the video. So this is the painting that brought many of you guys to my channel. It's from one of my, biggest spray paint, the biggest spray paint tutorial videos I've done. And it's pretty simple in theory. This painting was a bit of an expansion off of my first ever tutorial, which was just a moon and some stars. So in this painting, we expanded a little bit. Today, we're gonna expand a little bit further. So we're gonna have a bit of a smaller moon. These mountains will be a bit further in the background. We're gonna bring in some other elements. We're gonna kind of keep this along those same simple, quick, and easy lines the previous tutorials followed. With that in mind, you are gonna need some supplies to get through the painting today. Start with the poster board. You're gonna need a sheet of glossy poster board. Here's the brand name. This is actually not my favorite kind. It's a little bit more flimsy and floppy. There is a more heavyweight version of this as well by the same brand. I buy mine at Walmart. I believe you could find this online. If you guys don't have Walmart, help each other out. Let each other know where you can find this stuff because it's one of the most asked questions. The reason we use this poster board is going to be because it has a glossy side to it. So it's got a glossy, shiny side to the poster board. This allows the spray paint to stick to the outside without seeping through the paper. I do recommend some painter's tape. As you can see, I've cut a piece of poster board to size. I have another video on how I go about cutting my poster board easily and nice and clean. So check that one out as well. I've taped mine down and I've just got it on a little bit of a, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a particle board slab, just allowing me to move it around. Taping it down is gonna make sure I have not only my painting secure, but I'm gonna get these nice clean lines at the very end. It's really satisfying when you peel those off, but secondly, it really adds to a finished look to the painting. You're gonna want a palette knife. It's available at any art store, hobby store, that sort of thing. I'm gonna use a little pointy object as well. All I'm gonna use this for is signing my name at the end. You definitely substitute a bunch of different things, including a good old regular pencil. The pencil is not going to show up on top of the spray paint and it will allow you to etch your name in. Today's painting, I'm going to be using a straight edge. It needs to be big enough to block paint from spraying over when you're trying to make a clean line, and it needs to be wide enough to get across your painting without leaving a gap. There's a bunch of different styles. I have one like this. In today's case, that's not going to help us enough. Just simply not going to be wide enough across. I found both of these in the drywall section of a hardware store, so check there and you should be able to find something similar. We're going to need a round object to make a planet. With that, I'm using this martini shaker. I like this one because it's got very, very, very thin edges. If you have a thicker edge or anything with a bit of a bevel, it's going to pull the paint off as it sticks and it dries along the edge. Having a thin one makes sure you get nice, clean planet lines. This one also doubles because I can have a big size, and this pulls off for a smaller size. I'm probably just going to use this today. We've done a lot with a bigger planet. Today the focus is going to be everything else and having a bit more of a unique piece. I have some rubber gloves, always good to have these on hand. Keep those hands nice and clean. And then we have our paint. With this beginner tutorial series, we're pretty much just using black and white. So I have a gloss white, gloss black, and a clear, which is just essentially clear spray paint, all Rust-Oleum, all gloss. There's a lot of different brands. This is the one I'm most familiar with, so I can't really give you tons of tips on the other paints. I do plan to get into that in a future video. However, this is what we're working with today. In addition to those two, we have Rust-Oleum Quick Color. It is available in the same exact spot as these other paints, which is any hardware store, Walmart, any store that sells spray paint should have at least these. I know for sure these are available at Home Depot, and it's just a black gloss and a white gloss. These are both very, very misty and going to be used for different purposes throughout the painting. One thing we are going to need is a plastic bag or some kind of plastic material like this. And you definitely want a respirator that is rated for spray paint, so make sure you always wear a respirator when you paint. Now we're ready to go. We have the basic supplies. I do really recommend painting along with this video. Make sure you check out a lot of the other tutorials in the channel. There's a ton just like this one that could definitely, spring you into spray paint art pretty quickly. So make sure you check out some of the other videos. All right, now we have our little planet stencil. We're gonna place that down just right over here. We're gonna kind of continue on or pretend we're looking at something similar to this, but just zoomed out further. It's gonna give us more space to work with. I honestly don't even know what we're gonna do. I'm more worried about the techniques I'm gonna try to show you guys. So for me, it's not about the painting itself, the end result. It's about just being able to pass on some tips and tricks. Hopefully the whole composition works, but we'll see as we go. If you haven't gathered by the intro, it's gonna be a bit of a longer video. Really helps me explain in depth what's going on, make sure I can give clear instructions. So definitely dedicate the time. I do recommend watching it through, even coming back and watching bits and pieces to refresh some of the basic stuff as you go along. As a reminder, we do need to make sure you guys understand how to at least get this far in spray paint art. So make sure you check out the other tutorial videos. There is 2 parts leading up to this one. I'll make sure to link those below. So let's get started here. With all of our spray paint, we're gonna shake up our cans really good before we use them. That's gonna be key to make sure the paint flows evenly, is looking nice and uniform, as well as we want to make sure we don't have any clogged caps. If you do run into that, you're just going to basically take a hobby blade away from yourself and cut any excess paint off, ideally not on the canvas you're about to paint on. Spraying off to the side here, just making sure we got a flow, and I'm just going to mist around that just to give us a little border. I'm gonna go in, and I'm spraying about 9 to 12 inches away in little bursts, always keeping my hands moving. If paint pools up, that's kind of your worst enemy, so start with less paint and work your way up, and you'll have a way better, easier time. We're also gonna layer some white on top of this, so we wanna make sure if we sprayed too much paint, the white's just gonna seep in. We want just an even flat layer, maybe letting it dry for about 10, 15, 30 seconds in between. Now we got our white all shaken up. We're just gonna do a little burst on top here. We're gonna let that dry for just a moment. Now we're gonna take one little corner of our plastic bag here. I'm gonna scrunch it up just a little bit, play with the texture. I'm gonna lay it down on top of this, and I'm not gonna really push down hard. I'm just gonna lightly let the plastic touch down, and then I'm gonna peel it back up. I might press down in just a couple little spots here. So place it down. The paint's gonna stick it right away, so you just let it be, kind of make sure it's making some contact, and peel it off like that. It's a nice effect here, so we're gonna go ahead and stick with that. I'm gonna take this Rust-Oleum Quick Color, so this is the more misty version. I'm gonna give it a good shake, and I'm just gonna shade the one side of my planet. Now we should keep in mind the original size I was gonna go with was about this big. Seeing it now on the paper, I'm gonna try to maintain that size. So, you know what? This will work just fine. So instead of using the cap, we're gonna go ahead with this. And we're gonna have a nice big bright moon, and that'll look pretty cool. So before I go in, I'm gonna go back just with my gloss white, and I'm just gonna kiss the outside edge of this. Just like that. Hardly any paint at all. Just kind of let it fan on there. Now I'm gonna come in with this Rust-Oleum, and I'm gonna make a swooping motion here, like super light bursts, and I'm just gonna barely build up any hint of a shadow on this 1/3 section of this planet. Definitely don't recommend this next part. I'm just using it to speed up my drying process. We're gonna go ahead and place this down on top, getting some of the shadow and a lot of the light side. Now we gotta keep in mind that's kind of the bright side of the painting, meaning a lot of everything on this side might be a little more shadowy. That's kind of the only point of light source we have. Nonetheless, we're gonna go in and we're gonna paint the top third or so here, pretty much just black to get our night sky going. Again, we're keeping it really, really thin coverage, especially around the planet. We don't want any buildup. We don't want any buildup along our tape line. So nice and flat, even coverage all along here. Now going back to this painting, we want some mountains kind of intersecting here in the background. I'm going to carry it down just about to the halfway mark. We're almost at halfway. I'm going to just, build it down just a little bit and start in with some mountains kind of like this. I'm going to work all the way across here. As we just had a pretty good layer of black here, we're gonna just spray some white onto our fingertip. Flick a little bit off to the side, which you can barely see. And we're gonna flick and kind of vary our pressure and how fast and hard we flick into the canvas, and you're gonna get some stars and stuff. Another method is to spray some onto the tip of this, which I'll do off camera here to the side. Kind of tap it off, and you're just gonna flick like this. So a lot of these are a little big for my liking. They kind of look cool, but I'm just showing you the different techniques. You can use the finger flick, you can use this. I do like how much more control I have when I use this technique. So now I'm gonna go back in with a little bit of black here. I'm definitely gonna put some black up here. I'm just gonna make my mountain outline kind of. So I'm gonna put one here, and I'm gonna put two kind of cross-secting mountains over here. So with that, we need a fresh layer of black. Again, nice light mist. So I'm gonna do this one first. And to do that, I'm gonna have my gloss white. Just like that. I might let this dry for just a second. You'll see these big blobs are now turning into kind of fading out into the enamel of the different paints. So I'm gonna go in while I still have time. I'm gonna go back to the finger flick star technique, and I'm just gonna get some better stars. I'm gonna go in, same thing we did to the planet. I'm just gonna go and place this down in the shape of the mountain and kind of enforce that shape with my fingers ever so lightly and peel it all off. So keeping all the excess out of the way, I'm just gonna let the paint kind of grab the plastic. And pull it down like so. I kind of like that. If this is the bright side of our painting, we have some natural shadows here. It really looks textured. I'm gonna leave it just like that, I think. So I was gonna have a mountain coming across. Let's still do that because I wanted to kind of stay true to that first picture. So we'll bring another one in here. Fresh black, Bit of an angle there. That's all we need. Gloss white. So I'm just pulling some more out, giving it a different varied look from this, giving it a bit of depth, and just kind of pulling paint off until I get the textures I want. I'm gonna go in with one more here, and I'm really gonna make this clear that this is the back mountain. So I'm gonna have this other last one just come up over here, and that'll be it for the mountains. Again, we want some fresh black. A little bit of white. This is a step where a lot of you guys get overspray like so much. For this, you have to go very close and very fast. And if you don't, you're gonna get paint pooling. And if you go too far away or too slow, you're gonna get overspray. So it really takes some can control. You can literally just paint a piece of poster board black and go across, or just use black and try to get the cleanest, even lines you can going across the board, just to get used to that can control. But it's super, super important. So you can really ruin a painting quickly. See a bit of the overspray here. If that's everywhere in your painting, it will be a very foggy look, and you're not going to get that crisp look you're probably looking for. All right, last mountain here, we're going to go in. That's pretty good. What we're gonna do now is just the basic kind of form. If I can find my palette knife. Just gonna do a bit of highlighting. We're gonna stay really, really light. I'm just gonna kind of define this a little bit more, make a few more details. We don't need a whole lot, but I'm just gonna accentuate this a lot. I'm not gonna touch this because it's in the background, and I think now is a fair time to take a peek at our moon. So let's have a look at that. All right. I'm really digging the way this looks. So we're definitely gonna bring in a foggy look here. And I think we're just literally gonna end it with some very basic water. But before we do that, let me make these mountains pop just a little bit. You guys follow along. This might, whoops. That is white spray paint. That is clear. They look very similar, but definitely a different result. I might spray a little bit of clear, just a very, very light mist, so I can work a little bit of this, but I'm really scared to get carried away. On camera, I'm looking through the lens. It looks really nice here, but it just looks a little funny in person. So I'm gonna tweak it just ever so slightly. That's literally it. There we go. Now for the last stage, we're gonna do some water. So what you wanna do is lay down the straight edge pretty much as flat as possible. You don't want a crooked water line. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna spray, we have a mountain here and a mountain here. So let's do a little of this quick color. Or just pretend that there's a shadow there. And same thing for this other side. You might not be able to see through my hand here. A little bit of a shadow for the two mountains now. Nothing else really going on. Another thing we do know is there's a moon somewhere here. And that should be good. So we're kind of set. We've got this laid across. We're building our shadows underneath. I'm just going to go ahead and spray some gloss white over that. Give those just a second to bind to each other a little bit before we go in. Now that's the one section of the painting you want a decent amount of paint without going overboard. I'm gonna keep my hand and hold this down. And now all you're gonna do is stroke across. I would stick to even one direction until you get the desired look for the water, and you really don't wanna overwork this stage. So I'm gonna kind of move my camera angle and just try to follow along with what I'm doing. I'm just gonna slide my open hand across and try to stay as flat as possible. Scrape your hand off a little bit. Start from outside the painting, as level as possible, all the way across. Scrape off. Do this just this last section down here. I'm going to take this off. We have a nice little water line to our painting here. One thing I'll say, it definitely looks like a little bit stark straight across. I'm just going to go in from the side here and add a bit of mist, maybe along the back tree line here, and see what we could do to make that look a little less artificial. Right, I'm gonna accelerate the drying process again, just let it sit for maybe 10 minutes, but here I just wanna speed things up a little bit. We're gonna take our can of quick color white, shake it up really good. We're just gonna add some mist along the edges here. I will do this. We get our straight edge back, make sure there's no paint on top, and try to lay it perfectly back on. It's about as good as you can get there. I'm just gonna add a bit of mist along the shoreline here. All right, guys, I think for a lot of us, this could be done. This is definitely a step further. We've thought about, expanding our landscape a little bit, maybe adding some water. I'm gonna go a step further, but for a lot of you, if this is as far as you've been able to get with spray paint art, this could be a really nice finished piece. The thing I'm thinking is it's just lacking a little bit down here. So I think I'm gonna make just a little bit of a shoreline here and maybe one tree, but we'll see. So I'm just gonna go in with my black here and do a little basic outline. I'm gonna do a little bit of white, just a tiny bit here, just to mist out the edge of the lake. And back into the plastic bag here. We go in and rework this a little bit. Bring out a bit more texture. And last thing to do, we're just going to shade this back edge just a little bit. And you know what, guys, for all intents and purposes, we're gonna leave this just like it is. I think it looks really cool. We have some nice new kind of ideas on composition or how you could take it. And each layer just created a bit more depth from the next. So it goes from being, in our original tutorial, a 2D painting with just one kind of popping item. In our second painting, it was kind of closer to this. and we've expanded that and added some water and kind of continued another layer for the foreground. You could take this as far as you want. You can add more to it. There's a lot of directions you can go. The key with these videos isn't for you guys to just make this exact painting. It's to take these tips, take these tricks, and try to get the ideas out of your head onto the canvas. If you guys made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Comments and support I get on the channel are, the main reason I'm doing these videos. I'm not finding a whole lot of time to paint for myself lately, nor am I finding the motivation. However, seeing how much these videos help you guys and hearing from each of you really keeps me going and really makes sure I make these a priority. So the easiest thing you could do to help me out, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and go watch some of the other videos. There's, dozens of other tutorials on my channel, many with very few views. So if you guys want to pick up some other tips and tricks, check those out. Last thing to do for us, we're going to sign the painting and we're going to go ahead and peel off the tape. So there it is, a nice little nighttime scene, a little bit more expansive on top of our previous tutorial videos. Adding that little border really kind of does give it that finished look. It can be tough sometimes to know when something's done, and having it just framed in like that, I really, really like it. I've been doing it with most of my paintings. Also helped with not having my paintings shift a lot during these videos. So thanks so much for watching. Happy painting. I hope you guys do take, a step out of your comfort zone and paint along with these videos. There's a lot to gain from a lot of different, things in life. Art is certainly one worth exploring. So once again, thanks so much, and we'll see you again in a future video.